Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Now in today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at a scanner. Yeah, ordinarily that would not make for a really exciting video, but this isn't just any scanner. It's a vintage scanner that's almost 40 years old that fits entirely in this box right here. That's right, this, my friends, is the ThunderScan, which is a really cool little device that transforms your Apple ImageWriter into a scanner. This was released back around the time the original Macintosh launched, and it's one of the coolest things I've seen in a really long time. How does it do this, you may ask? Well, it replaces your ImageWriter's ribbon with this little device right here, which has an optical sensor on it. It's really awesome. That is when it actually works, because unfortunately I have not been able to get this fully functioning. I actually acquired all this stuff back in late 2021, and it just kind of was one of those projects that I started to work on and then shelved when I kind of got to the point where I'm like, I'm not making any progress with this. But I recently saw this tweet from V Westlife, and he said, like, someone should do a video on this thing, and he posted a video that somebody had of one of these things actually working, just a brief little demo. That got me thinking, you know, maybe I should try to finish this video and try to troubleshoot this some more. And, well, I did. I spent a couple hours last night trying to get this thing working, and unfortunately I still haven't been able to get it fully functioning. But then I'm thinking to myself, why don't we just do this anyway? I mean, sure, I can't show you this thing in action unless it wants to miraculously start working on video, which would be really awesome. But at least we can unbox it. I've got the original packaging here, all the accessories that it came with, and we can dive into the history a little bit, and I can set this thing up and show you how you would theoretically use it to scan a document into a file on your Macintosh. So ThunderScan was created by a company called Thunderware Incorporated. And funny thing about them, they actually predate Apple by 2 years. They were founded in 1974, and they were originally known as Thunderclap, but they changed their name to Thunderware in 1981. And back then they were known for the Thunderclock, which was an expansion card for the Apple II that provided a real-time clock to the system at a time when that was not a standard feature. The ThunderScan came into the picture around the time the original Mac launched in 1984 and sold for around $200. Now this unit I have here is one of the earlier iterations because it comes in this really basic packaging, just a white box with a sticker slapped on the top, and they actually have what I find really cool. You have what I believe is the purchase date, or maybe manufacture date, 3785, and perhaps an order number just handwritten in pencil on the sticker here. So yeah, the later iterations of the ThunderScan came in fancier packaging with nice graphics and all that stuff, something that would be a little bit more pleasing to look at, but I still find this really cool. And when we open this up here, we'll see what we got. So right here is the original ThunderScan. This one here that I showed you earlier is a bit of a later iteration. You can see the label on it is a little bit different, and the cord actually comes out from the top instead of the bottom here. So yeah, this is the ThunderScan, and it wires directly into this switching box here. And this is what you plug your ImageWriter into, and then this cable takes the place of where you had your ImageWriter plugged into on the back of your Macintosh. And this allows you, as you can see, to switch between printing and scanning. So when you want to print something, you just swap out the ThunderScan with your original ribbon, and then flick this to print. And then when you're ready to scan again, you just put the ThunderScan back in, change it to scan, and you're good to go. The only downside is this is incredibly slow because it has to scan one line at a time. So if you're scanning like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, you're going to be there a while. But again, this was $200, which was far less than the scanners available at the time. And it worked out of the box with your Macintosh. So yeah, that's the hardware. We'll set that aside. Of course, we have the 3.5-inch floppy diskette with the software on it. We'll come back to that. And right here we have the user's manual, which of course shows you how to set this thing up. It gives you some examples of, you know, what you can do with it, how it works. and it's just really cool to read through this. If this is not already archived, I don't know if it is. I will definitely be sure to make high quality scans of this, because I just find it really cool just looking back. I mean, really any old user's guide like this, it's just awesome to just look back and see. Oh, I should mention, I don't have everything in here, unfortunately. We are missing the white timing tape, which was used to increase the speed at which the ThunderScan could scan documents. If you wanted to take advantage of the highest possible speed, you would need to have this. You also have some Velcro strips and a plastic printer cover, which would replace the lid on the ImageWriter so that this cord could, you know, freely get out. And yeah, so yeah, it just goes through and talks about, you know, how to set up everything. You've got a little diagram of the components on the ThunderScan. So they call this the scanning nose here. This right here is the focus knob. To change focus, you have to make sure that's set up properly, and then the cable that runs off of it. It tells you how to install it. It's really, really simple. I mean, we're going to do it here in a minute, but it's nice that they go through it in detail. And then, yeah, was that a registration card? Hang on a second. Oh, this is the tutorial image. I didn't even think this was in here. So yeah, this right here is what you can use to kind of see how the thing works. If you didn't already have any documents you wanted to scan in, you can use this to scan this image of this really cool looking train into your Macintosh. I did not even realize this was in here. That's awesome. But yeah, it goes through how you would begin a scan. And of course, on the very back, we've got your list of credits. Now, doesn't that name look familiar to you? Yeah, the software, this is really, really awesome, was actually written by Andy Hertzfeld, an Apple employee who worked on the original Macintosh, for those who don't know. Yeah, the software wizard himself wrote this piece of software, which I find really awesome. Yeah, he was hired by Thunderware after they had encountered some image quality issues during the ThunderScan's development, and he was able to fix them, which is pretty awesome. He talks about that on a post on Folklore, so I'd highly recommend reading that if you want his perspective on this whole thing. But yeah, let's go ahead and take out the manual and the software so we can refer back to them, and let's set this thing up, and I'll show you how you would theoretically use it to scan something into your Macintosh. Today we're using the Macintosh SE FDHD and an ImageWriter 2 because this is the only Apple printer I have, and this is the closest Mac that I have to this thing's release date. Unfortunately, that does pose a minor challenge, and the first thing I had to overcome, which is that this ThunderScan right here uses a DB9 connection to communicate with the Mac, which you're not going to find a DB9 port on the back of this, because the Mac SE and the ImageWriter 2 use a Mini 8 connector, which looks like this. So I ended up having to buy one of these cables, along with just a whole host of other adapters and cables and just utter gloriousness. And another ThunderScan unit entirely. This is the switching box that goes with that one, so you can see it's a bit newer compared to the original one here, which is really basic, and you got a single ImageWriter port on here. This one, you've got two ports for the printer, so if you had a printer that uses DB9 or Mini 8, you could use either or. You got your same switch here, obviously, and the scanner is actually disconnected. It is modular, so you can see this is the DB9 connector from the newer ThunderScan unit that goes into here. And then this connects to your Macintosh. And you see it's the same connector, but they do include this thing, if I can find it. Where is it? This adapter to connect it to the Mini 8 port on the back of the Mac SE. But this is not the only thing that I used. I also got this Mini 8 to DB9 cable. I tried that. I've tried all sorts of stuff, guys. Unfortunately, it does not make a difference. But let's go ahead and set this thing up, and I'll show you how this thing theoretically works. So we're going to take our Mini 8 to DB9 cable right here. We're going to plug this end into the printer port on the back of the Mac. And we are going to use the newer adapter box here because, again, it's got Mini 8 out for the ImageWriter 2. So we will take the Macintosh cable here that you're supposed to run to the Macintosh and plug it into here. And then we're going to go over to the printer and press the select button to allow the computer to control it. And now we're going to go up here to the chooser. And you can see the ImageWriter 2 starts to do something there. And we'll just make sure that we have ImageWriter selected and then we have the printer port selected here. So let's go ahead and pop in the ThunderScan floppy diskette. Now, you can boot off of this because the original Mac and the 512 and a few other models after that did not have a hard drive. This model does, so we are booted off the hard disk right now, but it does not make a difference if I boot off of this or the hard drive. It still does not work, unfortunately. So we'll open up the diskette here, and you see we got our system folder, class demo, we'll come back to that, and the ThunderScan program itself, which we're going to launch. And this is the main interface. So when you're ready to install the ThunderScan in the ImageWriter, you want to obviously take off the top cover here. And I'm just making sure I have the right ThunderScan here, which I do. So we're just going to pop it in, and we're going to put the cover back on. And you don't have to put it on all the way either, you just have to make sure it's in those notches right there, but you know, we can snap it shut if we want. And we're just going to press the select button once again. Now we'll jump back to the software here and go up to the scanner menu and configuration, and we'll check that we've got an ImageWriter 2. We'll turn off faster scan because we don't have those strips. And you got other options in here, for example, if you're using the modem port instead of the printer port, though you can change that from chooser. And yeah, so you got a couple other options. We're just going to click on OK because all that looks good. And you also want to make sure you set the focus, which again is controlled through this dial right here. Unfortunately, of course, when we do that, it just says that it can't communicate with the scanner. Now, this is in the scan position, and I've tried this older model as well with the older switching box, and that did not make a difference because I at first thought this was the one that I got first. I thought that this DB9 connector, you see it's missing pins, but they both have the same 2 pins missing. So that's surely not a coincidence. That is intentional. So that put my suspicion there to rest. But yeah, it's really unfortunate, guys. But we'll just plug this back in here. We can still dive into the software a little bit. So let's go up to scanner here. Now, when you were ready to scan, you would click on the scan option here, and then it would bring up this page map. And this is where you select what part of the document that you want to scan. So for example, with that tutorial image that was included in the manual, you know, there's only that one portion that's the actual train, so you would just select the area on the page that corresponded to that, and it gives you an image size over here and, you know, how much it's approximately going to take up in the system's memory. So, you know, you could make this do the entire page if you want. You just got to drag this box all the way around here, and you know, that's going to be a pretty big file, but you know, you could do that. You could also change the magnification right here if you want bi-directional, and then you just hit new scan, and if it could communicate with the ThunderScan, I think it just crashed. If it can communicate with the ThunderScan, it will begin scanning. But it normally just says that it cannot communicate, like it brings up that same error message we saw. I think it literally just froze and locked up the system. Because, yeah, I can't, I can't do anything, so I guess, yeah, I probably overloaded, yeah, I don't think you should select the image to be that large, because I think that just, caused us to have, like, a memory overload there. Well, there you go, at least something interesting happened, and it looks like we have booted off of the diskette, which makes sense, the system just restarted, and it was in the drive. And this is, let's go to About Finder here, this is Finder 4.1. So, yeah, we can go in here, and, I mean, I can do the same thing again, and it's not, not going to do anything, unfortunately. So, let's try here, we'll go to configuration, make sure we got ImageWriter 2 selected, and I'll go into the chooser here just to make sure, or choose printer, and we got the printer port selected. There we go. I can make sure to turn off fast scanning as well. And I have messed around with all these options in here as well, turn some off, turn some on. Then we'll try to go to focus again, and just says it's not responding. But let's go ahead and open up that image that's in here. So we'll just do load image, open up class demo. Now if you wanted to save this image, you do get some options here. Obviously you would want to save it considering you just went through the long process of scanning it. You can even draw on it. You can erase as well. And then you just go up here, File. You can save it as a paint doc or a scan image. And we'll just save a scan image in this instance. And, of course, we can't... I don't think there's any space on this drive here, though. Can we just change? Yeah, Macintosh HD. There we go. So we'll save this as, you know, hi. And hit save. And maybe we'll also... It makes more sense to save it as a paint document. So we'll just hi, too. And... there you go. It's been saved, our lovely masterpiece. And you can even print it out if you want to scan something in and then print it back out. That's an option as well. Let's jump to the About menu here, just to give you the full credits. You've got a photo of Andy Hertzfeld right there. This is version 3.2 of the software, copyright 1986. And you get that little lightning animation there. And I think that just about brings this sort of demo video on the ThunderScan to a close. Hey, if you guys have any suggestions, anything that I might be overlooking, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I would love to get this thing working, and there are certainly people out there that have more experience with ImageWriters than I do. So I'm open to anything that you guys have to say. There's really anything that could be the problem. It could be the switching boxes themselves. It could be the cables. It could be the ThunderScan units. I mean, I have 2 of them. I don't know what the odds are of both of them being bad, but it's certainly a possibility. The good news is, hopefully you guys won't have to wait long if you want to see a full demo on this thing, because as it turns out, another YouTuber saw that tweet from VUS Life, a YouTuber named LGR, and come to find out, he has one of these things, and he's making a video on it. So yeah, it's just like another one of these really odd coincidences, like 3 people that make YouTube videos kind of were thinking about this thing at relatively the same time, which I find really awesome. So yeah, I really hope that he's able to get it working in his video. It sounds like he got a new old stock unit, which is great. But that's pretty much all I have for now, guys. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.